All right, this is a Code Ninja security advisory, and it's an urgent one. We need to talk about a critical remote code execution vulnerability in Fortinet's FortiSIEM platform. We're giving you the actionable intelligence you need right now to protect your networks, so your full attention is required.
Okay, let's not waste any time. We're starting with the number because you need to understand the stakes. This is a 9.8, critical on the CVSS scale. To be blunt, it just doesn't get much more severe than this. Action is required now, not tomorrow, not later today.
So, what does a 9.8 actually mean in this case? It means we're looking at an unauthenticated remote code execution vulnerability. Let me break that down for you. An attacker, anywhere on the network, needs nothing. No username, no password, no special access, absolutely zero credentials. They can just walk right in and take complete control of your system. It's the digital equivalent of leaving the front door of your command center wide open and unlocked. All right, let's really dig into the threat here. The official tracker for this one, the name you'll see everywhere, is CVE-2025-64155. Let's break down what that actually means for you. At its heart, this is an OS command injection vulnerability. It's kind of a classic, but in this case, it's absolutely devastating. The weak spot is a service called phMonitor in FortiSIEM. Basically, this service is supposed to handle some internal data, but it's not checking the data it receives properly. So, an attacker can send a specially crafted message, a TCP request, and trick the system into running their own malicious commands. A trusted process gets turned into a weapon. And let me be perfectly clear, this is not a theoretical problem. This is happening right now, in the wild. A full proof of concept exploit is out there for anyone to grab. And what's more, we're seeing active scanning and exploitation attempts already. That tiny window you have to patch before you get owned, the Patch-to-Pwn window, that's slammed shut. The race is on, and the attackers have a head start. So if an attacker gets in, what's the damage? Let's talk about the blast radius, because you gotta understand this isn't about just one server getting popped. This is about your entire security posture collapsing. Look, when they get in, they get everything. We're talking full system compromise. They can manipulate your security logs, essentially making themselves invisible. They can disable your alerts so you don't even know they're there. From there, it's a playground for them. They can pivot deeper into your network, steal credentials, and start exfiltrating your most sensitive data. And hey, if you're a service provider using this just became a massive supply chain risk for every single one of your clients. It's a nightmare scenario. The researchers at Horizon3.ai, the ones who found this, put it perfectly. Compromise of FortiSIEM gives attackers control over the security operations layer itself. Just let that sink in for a second. The tool you bought to be your watchdog, your defender, it becomes the attacker's best weapon against you. They're not just in your network, they're sitting in your security command center, pulling the strings. Okay, enough doom and gloom. This is the most important part of the entire advisory. Let's talk about defense. Here is your action plan. This is exactly what you need to do right now to lock things down. So the first and most obvious question, are you vulnerable? You need to figure out if your systems are in the line of fire. We know this specifically impacts the super and worker nodes. Good news is, if you're only running collector nodes, you seem to be safe from this one. Okay, get your eyes on this table. Find the version series you're running. If your current version number is in that middle affected versions column, you're vulnerable. Full stop. The only way to fix this, the only complete remediation, is to upgrade to the patch version listed on the right, immediately. So here are your marching orders, your 3-step emergency plan. Number 1, patch immediately. I can't stress this enough, it is not optional, it is the only true fix. 2, if for some crazy reason you can't patch this very second, you have to isolate TCP port 7900. Block all access to it from anywhere you don't absolutely trust. But listen, that's just a band-aid, not a fix. And 3, assume the worst. Assume you're already compromised and start hunting for indicators. Okay, you've got your orders. Now, for those of you who want to peek under the hood, let's quickly break down how this exploit actually works. Because, understanding your enemy is the key to beating them. So it all starts pretty simply. The attacker just sends a TCP request to that vulnerable service, phMonitor, on port 7900. No authentication needed. The trick, the mechanism, is something called argument injection. They send this specially crafted XML message that messes with the little shell script, one that's just supposed to test a connection. They're basically hijacking a simple diagnostic tool and turning it into their personal weapon. So let's walk through the chain, step by step. First, that malicious XML payload gets sent to the API. Now here's the really slick part of the attack. They abuse a feature in curl called -next. It's kind of obscure, but it lets them chain commands. This is how they bypass the security checks. It's like the system sees the first, seemingly innocent command, gives it a thumbs up, but the -next flag sneaks in a second, truly malicious command right behind it. That second command writes their reverse shell, their payload, to a file on the disk. And the final piece of the puzzle, a cron job, a scheduled task, comes along and runs that file for them. Boom, they're in.
But getting a shell as the admin user isn't enough, right? They want full control. So from there, they escalate to root. And it's shockingly easy. They just find another script, this one called redishb.sh, and overwrite it with their own code. Why that script? Because a cron job owned by root runs it every single minute. So within 60 seconds of getting in, they have total control of the box. Game over. Okay, so how do you find them? What do you hunt for? You're going to want to dive into your logs, specifically /opt phoenix log /phoenix.logs. Look for any PHL-error messages. And inside those, keep an eye out for weird-looking URLs or strange curl commands. That's your smoking gun. Also, be on the lookout for any unexpected new files showing up in your cron directories. And, of course, monitor your network for any strange outbound connections coming from the SIEM itself. Get your threat hunters on this. So how did we even get to this point? It's worth taking a second to look at the disclosure timeline because it's a saga. And it really explains why this became such an emergency the second it went public.
So check this out. Horizon3.ai found this thing all the way back in August 2025 and did the right thing. They reported it to Fortinet. But then it took over 150 days to get a patch out. Now, to be fair, porting a fix across a bunch of different software branches is complex, but that's a long time. Finally, on January 13th, 2026, the official advisory drops, the POC is released, and the race officially began.
And when I say the race began, I mean instantly. The disclosure went live, and almost immediately we saw active scanning light up across the internet, with a lot of the initial activity traced back to China. It's the world we live in now. When a bug this bad and this easy to exploit goes public, you don't have days to react. You have hours, maybe minutes. So this whole thing really leaves us with a tough question, doesn't it? The piece of hardware that you paid for to be your security guard, your gatekeeper. It was actually the unlocked door. This is way bigger than just one patch. It makes you ask some hard questions about vendor security, about your own attack surface, about how much trust we put in these black boxes. So yeah, your next move is to patch. But after that, your next move has to be to reevaluate everything. Stay safe out there.